I'm not fond of this word Advaita or non-duality, as we say in English, because from what I've seen is that people have started identifying themselves as non-dualist, and God knows what that means. So it has sort of become, it has taken that shape where people start thinking that this is the ultimate teaching, or that if you are into non duality, somehow it is the mother of all teachings. And so you see, mind here is creating this duality, this segregation, that I am the pure consciousness, I am the non duality, therefore I am better than the rest. I have an understanding which is superior to all other teachings. I am finally free, I am finally liberated. And you see, that is the classical trap of the ego mind. Because in duality, there is no personal freedom. That means you just cannot break the interconnected opposites of pleasure and pain. You cannot avoid pain. You cannot cling to pleasure. In fact, what you perceive as pleasure is pain in disguise. Now, when I see masters, for example, Ramesh Balsekar accepted that the anger comes up in him. It is not that having understanding of Advaita or non-duality does not create anger or any other emotion at all. But what he said after that was, he can see his anger arising. And that is something which changes the whole thing. Because that anger may arise even in the sage. Any negative emotion can arise in the sage, in the moment, and it can be very painful. But at the same time, it does not carry all that weight in horizontal time. What that means is that it fades away sooner as compared to someone who's totally identified with their mind. Because what the spiritual understanding does is that it creates a dent in the persona, in the personality. And personality is just the story. It's just a story created by the ego mind. I am this, I am that, this is my life. I'm only this human aspect and there is nothing beyond to me. Or it can also say that I am only the pure consciousness, I am the ultimate, I am the supreme reality, I am the Brahman, or any other word, fancy word it can label itself with and say, and there's nothing human about me, or I'm separate from the human emotions, or whatever we experience as human beings. But you see, that is also a trap. So we are all of it. We are the awareness, because everything is being made aware. All the pain, all the suffering, all the human aspects are being made aware. So yes, awareness is there. Certainly, there is truth to it. But at the same time, it is not a denial of the human aspect. The human aspect where emotions, troubling emotions like jealousy, envy, attachment, depression, anxiety, restlessness, irritation, malice, spite, hatred, all these things do appear. Even in the person having the highest understanding, these things can appear. And that was the message of the sages. But it is seen, not by the person, but it is seen and it is released. That is the only difference. So nothing carries forward in horizontal time as suffering. Now this can be relative. For some people, it can be a couple of minutes. For others, it can be a couple of days. For some people, it can be a couple of months too. But at the same time, it does not disrupt their daily living. They are still able to function, maybe not as effectively, but they're still able to function even with that suffering. Because deep down, the awareness is there that all of this is transient. But the moment we start putting a label on ourselves that I am a non-dual sage, that I am a man or a woman of highest Advaita understanding, or for that matter, any other spiritual understanding, then what I'm doing is that I'm creating a barrier that is preventing me from experiencing my humanness. A barrier that is not allowing me to be vulnerable. So if a shame comes up, I immediately create a defense against it by saying, oh, I am the pure consciousness, I am the supreme reality, so I must not feel shame. But still the I is there. That मैं का bhav, that feeling of me, that is still there. It is I that says, I don't want to feel, or I am not feeling this because I am pure consciousness, because I am pure unconditional love. But when the understanding of oneness, as we say, is deep, the human element with all its facets are totally accepted. So if I am experiencing turbulent emotions, I will not put up any resistance to those emotions. In fact, I will completely feel them. That is an energy, that is an arising, and I am not offering any resistance to it. And that is what actually reduces their weight. Because when the resistance is not offered, those feelings cannot sustain for long. So yes, the suffering is cut down with the understanding. But creating an identification for oneself that I am a non-dualist who is somehow superior to other teachings, that's a classic folly of the ego mind. Because then you're looking for enlightenment, and then you are creating standards. You're creating an image of what an enlightened person should look like. So you say, oh, enlightened person should never feel angry. But tell me, have you seen a sage who is never angry? It's not possible. All sages, including Ramana Maharishi, used to get angry. But yes, their anger never turned into rage, because there was an understanding over there. Even Ramana Maharishi used to get angry when the toilets of the ashram were not clean, or when food was offered to him and not shared with others. He used to get irked. And Nisargadatta Maharaj was born with that temper. Well, not born exactly, but his conditioning was so deep that the temper he had, the fiery temper, was a part of it. But where did he use the temper? He did not use the temper to justify to protect his own, or to block his own feelings. He let out his feelings, whatever they were. In satsang, he would laugh the loudest. And at the same time, he would be the most fiercest man in the room. Sometimes, he would hit like an lightning bolt, full of anger. And his anger showed up only when something came between you and the source or consciousness. So when we give concepts like we are pure consciousness, we are the non-dual awareness, it is just a pointing. It is not the truth. It is something that has to be verified through your personal experience and not to be believed just because it is coming out from another person. Deep down, the overall journey in this life is beautiful. It is beautiful when one lives in the moment, in the now. And yes, there is truth to all that has been said. Like all there is now. It is here and now. It is not in the past or in the future. There is immense truth to that. But the moment we try to use that concept to justify something or to block a pain within. For example, if, let's say, anxiety comes up, a shooting anxiety, and the mind immediately comes up with a defense because that's the nature of the mind. So mind says, no, I must root myself into this present moment. Now is the time. So you see, that is again a defense created by the mind to block the emotion. But what happens when I just let it arise, if it is arising? And the thoughts and the sensations that are arising along with it, I allow everything to arise as it is. Then I notice that that emotion does not, that feeling, that restlessness does not have the momentum to go further in horizontal time and become suffering. For some people, it can go on for a couple of hours or maybe a couple of days, but eventually it drops down. And the moment it drops down, you reflect back and you wonder, why were you so upset about that when it was nothing? So it was just, an energy that was passing through this mind-body instrument. And the understanding says that just let it pass, just let it flow through. Of course, if there's too much trouble and if it's becoming unmanageable, then probably reach out for help. Go for professional help or whatever you can do in that particular situation. But eventually, you have everything within you that is sufficient to handle this, that because you are strong enough to handle this. So it is, non-duality is not a teaching. I don't consider it a teaching. It is actually not even a message. Although, we are bound by language, so sometimes I use that kind of language. And it is certainly not an ultimate teaching. Because if you see, that itself is an egoic statement to call non-duality as an ultimate teaching. There is no such thing as an ultimate teaching. In fact, Ramana Maharishi said that silence is the highest teaching. So I can still relate to that, because in quietness, I can feel the bliss and peace of here and now. But not in words. Like words are only helpful to the rajasic mind, to the mind that wants explanation, that wants to arrive at the truth using the intellect. Not recognizing that intellect is the barrier. Intellect is going to point it back to the mind, because intellect is a part of the mind system. But anyways, so the point being is that neither am I a non-duality teacher, and for heaven's sake, don't call me a non-dualist, because there is no such thing as a non-dualist. It's all here, and it is all this, whatever is arising in this. So whatever is arising in this includes everything. It includes the sight of garbage. It includes insects. It includes acts of violence. It includes love. It includes compassion. It includes war. It includes lovemaking. It includes everything. There is no such thing that can be apart from it. The sense of the separate self is an appearance in this. It is not that this is and arising in the separate self. The separate self is arising in this. So that's something I just wanted to share with you. Take care.